All right. Let me get my headphones on. Up in her. Hello. Oh. Yes. BFS, Breaking Free Speech. Another day. Another podcast. Coming at you from the studio. Man, Dave's loaded with energy today. Okay. Got some positive feedback on that couple of the videos with the sign-in sheet. You guys like to know a little bit about how it all works. The magic, wonderful world of the skate park. So today I was thinking we could touch base on one of the main hurdles that indoor skate parks have and why BFS was a little bit different. And it might be one of the single most important factors that led to the existence of Breaking Free Skate Park. So the issue is space. It's landlords. It's, aside from the fact that you need a lot of space. Actually, I'll go into space too, because that's a big hurdle. Let alone you can't just there's a building, I'll put a skate park there. There are major hurdles. Okay, that you maybe never thought about it. And here's really simple from a physical standpoint. You have the floor, you have the ceiling. Like, if you're looking for a cheap warehouse space, it might have a high ceiling, but the floors might be crap. Then what are you going to do? Frame it all out? It's not just the normal framing on the floor. You got to do them like the 2x4 is going to be like 8 or 10 on center, maybe a foot on center. So it's like every 10 feet, there's going to be 12 2x4s, and there's going to be 4 sheets of plywood, and that's going to be, it's going to get real expensive real quick. 10-foot 2x4s are like $350 a piece, and then I don't think I have my phone on me now. Here's my phone. Let's break that down real quick. You'll have 13 times 3.5, so that's $45. And then you're going to have like 5 sheets, say roughly 5 sheets of plywood. That's $35. Yeah, so you're talking $220 per 10-foot square of ground, roughly, if you wanted to frame out the floor. What's your other option? Like, get one of those big concrete sanders, smooth it out. That sounds like a pain in the butt. So floors are a big issue. And, for me, I didn't have to look at floors because I moved into a space where the skate park already existed. And even my floors aren't great. And I hope to box them out eventually if the finances are in order. Second, ceiling. If you want a little warehouse to just play around in, you can get away with like maybe 14, 15-foot ceiling. But if you want a real skate park with real height, like you need a tall ceiling. Our ceilings at BFS are very tall. The cross beams are 22 or 24 or something like that. And then the ceiling goes way up there. Way up. It's not an issue. But if you were to take, if you were to go on a site that searched real estate properties and you say, okay, I want it to be, minimum 8,000 square foot, maximum 25,000 square foot. And then you're going to get, okay, here's 25 spaces. It's like, all right, now I want it to have a ceiling this big. It's like, all right, now here's 5. So that's a big logistics issue. Big logistics issue. And then in line with that space, you have the volume inside the buildings. That's like the space cubed essentially. That plays a role when it comes to heating the space. You think about that, you come to the skate park, you're like, man, it's cold in here. It is cold in there. And I'm paying a lot of money to heat that space. To keep it as cold as it is, I'm paying like probably $1,300 to $1,700 a month to keep 20,000 square feet like 46 degrees. But that's the double-sided sword of the tall ceiling. Up in the peaks, up high in the ceiling, it's probably nice and warm. Down where you are, it's not so warm. What's the alternative? Put in fans, blow it down, then you have to pay for all of that. Then when the ceilings are tall, the logistics of getting fans in is hard too. So it's like, what do you do? It's tough. If you're, maybe if you're really lucky, you can find a building that has some sections of tall ceiling, some section of low. But even then, the odds of having the roof and the ceiling situated and then lighting the space, or the windows, or not, just finding a skate park space is way more complicated than you would think. And then, so the issue I was initially going to bring up is not about the space itself, but about getting into it. We all know the perception of action sports, personal progression-oriented sports, is not great. People think it's cool and extreme, but they think it's dangerous. So you might find the perfect space. Maybe you found a space in the right size, with good floors, with a good ceiling, and then you talk to the broker or the landlord, and they're like, wait, what do you want to do? In there? No, thank you. Pass. They won't even, some of them won't even answer. They won't even call you back because they don't want a skate park, They don't know it's not nearly as dangerous, it's not really dangerous at all, to be honest. I'm sure if I could probably look up research on workplace injuries in warehouse spaces, and it's probably worse than the skate park is. Whatever. I'll put that on the back burner. I'll look that up one day. So a lot of times, you get space. This is great. It's everything I want. Landlord's not going to give it to you. The likelihood of finding a landlord that gets it is pretty slim. If they're desperate to get someone in there, maybe you're more likely to get in there. But then if they bent a little bit on what they, if they didn't want, if they wouldn't regularly want you as a tenant because they think it's high risk, but they accept you because maybe the market right now, the real estate market's kind of not doing so hot. If you sign a 3 or 5 year lease and in 5 years, all of a sudden everyone's looking for, warehouse space, they might be, it can go either way. They could be like, well, 5 years, there's no problems. It should be fine. Or they could be like, well, 5 years and now people are banging on my door. I could probably get a little bit more for the space. Let's get the skate park out of here. And then, then there's no skate park. We got really lucky. I didn't even think that they were going to allow us to move into that space because prior to BFS, RASP had some issues. And like I just said before, like issues with landlords, it's dangerous. That's what I believe what happened with Cranks out in Syracuse. They had some turmoil with the property owner. And then I heard a couple different versions of that story. If anyone listening to this podcast is actually from Syracuse or had anything to do with Cranks and really did, reach out to me. I'd love to have you on the show to talk about Cranks. But yeah, I believe there's some bad stuff, some disagreements, and then they're just like, well, we're not going to renew you, so you don't even have a chance to stay here, and moving a skate park is not really that feasible. Then you have X Wheels, that was out in Buffalo. Same thing. If anyone from X Wheels would like to come talk on the show, hit me up, email me. I think X Wheels is the same thing. Like the property owner changed hands or something like that, and Orlando, the guy who used to run the place, basically he told me that the guy that owned the building in the business was this one day was like, nah, don't open, we're closed, just over it, done. Like, wait, what? Really? Didn't care. Why would he care? That's I think I heard with the Incline Club down in Jersey, similar deal. They were politically pushed out of the space. Someone just didn't want. I guess the neighborhood was changing. If you ever been to the Incline Club, you came in. Well, they changed the entrance a few times, but it was a gymnastics place and the skate park. And I believe the gymnastics place had since left, and then a charter school came in. And I believe there was tension between them. I think maybe the ownership might have changed. Either way, from what I understand, the landlord didn't want them in the building anymore. So they were just like, all right, if you want to stay, here's this ridiculous price that you can't afford, so you're going to leave. And just got kind of politically pushed out of it. And you'll see that time and time again. Like, even if your skate park's working, the landlord could just come in and be like, pull the rug out from underneath you, and that's it, game over. No more skate park. Like, I've moved parts of a skate park. It's tough. If you want to move a skate park, dude, if you wanted to move a 20,000 square foot skate park, it's going to cost you like, if you did volunteers and DIY'd everything, it's probably still going to cost you like 20 grand. And if you wanted to do it like legit, it'd probably get up way beyond that real quick. Yeah, wow. So with us, I presumed that they wouldn't even talk to me because Rasp had got themselves into some financial trouble. And so I was looking at spaces, honestly. I went around all over Rochester. I worked with this broker who actually his son comes and rides sometimes. And we went to every space in Rochester or the greater Rochester area that had between 15 and 25,000 square feet. And at the time, that was four locations that fit that. The thing was, there was more, but they all were under the ownership of the same property company. It's Buckingham Properties. And as you'll find later, they're great. I actually have, it's kind of ironic, I have my Buckingham Properties Yeti, hot or cold, what do you call this thing, a tumbler, coffee mug, whatever. They gave this to me as a 1 year thanks for sticking around thing. Good guys over at Buckingham. We'll get to that real quick. Yeah. So we looked at the 4 spaces around the city that were similar in size. One of them had great floors, great ceilings, but it was in an industrial park, like way out in Kodak Park, like way down, like Ridgeway and Mount Reed. And you'd have to go into like a fenced-in complex and go like 5 buildings down this road. Just not great for family logistics. Another space we looked at was off Buffalo Road. Really cool, unique space. Not in the best neighborhood. Really dingy. It was like a dungeon. It was like dark and old, but like floors weren't great, but pretty unique. And a couple other ones were just like bland, and just the other 2 were not even worth remembering. Buckingham, being a behemoth of a company, actually has a pretty strong hold on all warehouse spaces with tall ceilings, because apparently tall ceilings are desirable. I guess they make like at Home Depot, or maybe in BJ's, they have those metal racks, those really tall ones. You ever see the YouTube videos where they fall over? It's hilarious. I guess to use that sort of racking, you need tall ceiling, and that makes warehouse space with tall ceilings really desirable. So I was like, what are we going to do? We actually found a spot in Fairport we really liked, but there was logistics there that weren't going to work out. And I'm glad we didn't end up moving to Fairport. So what happened was I sat down with Buckingham, with the guy who was the property manager. Now he's the director of leasing. And they were like, he pretty much assured me right off the bat he wanted to make it work. And I was like, okay, so then I'll leave all the businessy stuff out of it, because that could be a whole nother discussion. They expressed to us that the building that the skate park is in now is a building that they like being sports related, and in fact in the future they would like to see the building entirely sports related. I think they said they would like to call it like Rochester Sports Park or something like that. Like, pretty funny because it sounded like RASP, which is Rochester Action Sports Park. They want to call it like Rochester Sports Park. And I'm like, that is the best. As a guy who wants to open a skate park, who knows what skate parks have to deal with, hearing that, I'm like, oh my God, that's it. Like, they want me in here. They want it to be sports. He said to me, they wouldn't hate to see some of the more industrial elements in the building leave in exchange for more sports related or foot traffic related, or people. They want people in the space. They don't want it to be just a industrial park, really. And I was like, cha-ching, heck yeah, this is what I want. This is exactly what you want to hear. Like, they're not going to spring up on me and be like, all right, you're done, get out, because that would be the worst case scenario. And they really worked with me. The fact that they wanted me in there just got my foot in the door. And then once my foot was in the door, the business plan sold them. And then that and then the business plan selling them allowed the negotiation for RASP to do their negotiation to settle up and square their situation away that allowed me to come in and be like, Skatepark, got it. And then that's pretty much that's the normal hurdles that skate parks have to deal with in regards to space. And to go back to the beginning, we were talking about liability. People think I still had to deal with that to some degree. I have a ton of insurances. There's like 5 different types of insurance. But on top of my general liability, I have to have an additional umbrella policy on top of that. I'm not even sure what that means. All I know that on top my policy, on top of covering me, there's a $1 million or $2 million policy that covers Buckingham, because someone, even though there's a waiver, like if someone really wants to pay their lawyer to come at my business and my lawyer and the waiver, like if they really wanted to fight that battle, someone to be a dick like that, they could fight it. If they got them, I don't know why you would want to fight it. Maybe you get one of those lawyers that's like, you don't pay unless you win, and they're going to come at you real hard. RASP got sued and they had insurance. Parks get sued even with the insurance and the waiver. Like people, whatever. That's a whole nother topic. But so on top of my liability, I had to pay additional money to have liability on them, because like they could sue me for everything I have and then be like, well, we want even more, and they could sue the people that gave me the space, because that's just how the system is kind of is right now in America. Medical bills are expensive. I don't know. I just hope it never happens. So even with the best scenario with my landlord, I still have to pay additional money to cover them. But I have a great relationship with them. They're great guys. When I sat down with the old property manager had been promoted to director of leasing, but he was still involved in the situation. So it was the old property manager / director of leasing, the new property manager, and I came in, I was like sweating bullets. I was like, oh my God. And we just talked about bikes. They used to race BMX, and they really like, I think we talked about a half hour. We talked about BMX and bikes and kids and motorcycles for a minute. And it calmed me down. It gave me a lot of faith that these guys had my back, and it's not something I have to stress about all the time. So shout out to Tom and Adam at Buckingham Properties. You guys made it happen for me. For reals. And there you go. There's a little low resolution breakdown on real estate and skate parks. There's a reason why skate parks are often in bad neighborhoods, to keep the rent down. I guess it's probably worth mentioning how the lease breaks down, because you pay per square foot. But whatever. You pay per square foot. So the bigger it gets, the more expensive it gets. And then how desirable the location is dictates how expensive it is. And obviously there's a lot of factors there with the ceiling height and where it is and whether it has a loading dock, and all those things play into how expensive something is per square foot. That's basically how it goes. The bigger the park is, the more expensive it's going to be. The nicer the neighborhood it is, probably the more expensive it's going to be. That's pretty much common sense, right? I hope you knew that. But yeah, there's your real estate and skate parks. A little background on how I managed to stay in the same place as RASP, which I'm not sure what RASP is, because that's the joke. There you go. Thanks for listening. Walk the walk, talk the talk. Definitely shred the gnar. Thanks for listening. Podcast out.